Welcome back, everybody. We're here to pull cards for July the 21st. I am going to be pulling one card for overall energy. After that, we'll pull one card for each sign, and we'll see where we land with our predictions for each sign as we go through the zodiac. Now, if you know your sun sign, you can get a tidbit of information. If you know your friend's sun signs, you can get a tidbit of information about them as well. But if you know your house system, if you know your ascendant and therefore your houses, then you can actually get quite a bit of information from a quick little reading like this. Let's see what our overall energy starts out as. Five of Cups. Five of Cups talks about this idea of feeling a little bit disappointed or let down about something. So we're going to see a little bit more about how that plays out. And I am going to silence my phone like I should have before I started this video. My apologies. Okay, so overall energy, Five of Cups, some kind of disappointment or feeling of a letdown. Let's see how this shows up in our lives. And guys, remember, when we see something like this ahead of time, the beauty of it is we have free will. So just because it shows up doesn't mean it has to be true. And we can make different choices that have things come out in a slightly different way, sometimes a dramatically different way, just depending. All right, let's see here. Aries. Hermit coming up in reverse. So Aries, this tells me that you have taken some time, or you will have taken some time by the time this comes to pass, to think things over and figure out what's really important to you, what makes you trigger, what makes you happy, all that kind of good stuff. And as you've taken some time to do that, now we see you today coming out and communicating with somebody about your new priorities and where you want to go from here. I think that the disappointment comes out in that somebody may not be as enthusiastic as you about these new priorities. As far as they're looking at things, they're kind of coming out of left field. They weren't expecting you to come up with this at all, not prepared mentally and emotionally. They may need a little bit of time to adjust to these new priorities that you have. And I think that's where you're feeling a little disappointed. You were hoping you would come out and say these and they would be all gung ho and ready to go just as much as you. All right, let's look at Taurus. Seven of Batons showing up in reverse. Taurus, I feel like this is us being disappointed with ourselves. We set some kind of boundary or standard, and then we felt like we had to lower that boundary or standard to accomplish something. And so we may be disappointed in ourselves for not, for selling out, man, for not holding on to those boundaries or standards. I'm hearing an old hippie saying, for selling out to the man. Yeah. All right, let's look at Gemini. Gemini. Nine of Batons showing up in reverse. This is interesting. There's some kind of surprise that's happening that is disappointing to you. Whatever this disappointment is that happens, it's a surprise for you, Gemini. You're not expecting it. It's out of the blue. That doesn't really tell us very much, does it? No, it does not. That's why I'm shuffling my Lenormand right now to figure out what is this about for Geminis. What kind of surprise? What kind of surprise? We can read the cards. We don't have to have surprises. What kind of surprise? Hmm. It's a decision that somebody is making about either family or home. So this is the Lenormand cards I have for that, for those of you who read Lenormand. So obviously we have the cross and we also have the house there, the home. So home for me has to do with family or literal home. And then this card has to do with uh, things that can be a burden, even decisions that can be a burden, especially decisions that can be a burden. So this is a hard decision that this person has made. It was a tough decision for them to make to start with. I think you're disappointed with how this decision came out. This can be a family member, or this can be a decision that really what's the word I'm looking for? Influences your family, or this can be a decision that influences your home. Hmm. All right. So it's a surprise. I don't think you're expecting this decision to have been made, Geminis. All right. Next up, we're looking at Cancers. Cancers. Okay. So Cancer, you guys have the Four of Cups showing up in reverse here. What's going on, Cancers? Four of Cups in reverse. What do we have? What do we have? To the Five of Cups. Oh, I like this actually. Basically, it says, yeah, there's something that happened that was disappointing, but you're not treating it like it's a big deal. You're like, okay, well, I know what my backup plan is. I'm just going to switch over to my backup plan. All right, so we like that. Next up, we're looking at Leo. Leo, Leo. Leo, Leo. Leo, Leo. Oh, Leo. Six of Wands. Now, this is really interesting, Leo, because it says that somebody is appreciating you. They're showing you their appreciation. There's still that sense of disappointment, though. Here's what I feel like is going on, Leo. Somebody is actually appreciating you. They're showing you their appreciation. I think you're disappointed because, well, I think that probably you did deserve to be appreciated, but I think also somebody else did as well, maybe more than one somebody else, and they are not being treated the same. They're not being shown that appreciation as well as you. And I think this bothers you. I think it makes you feel disappointed, number one, in the other person for not appreciating everybody involved in the situation who was helpful. But I think also this makes you feel disappointed because you're afraid that this may impact your relationship with the other people who helped you with whatever this is you're being appreciated for. So there's a little bit of a, I think you're not looking forward to the idea that potentially there could be some backlash because of this appreciation for you and not the other person's. The other person's could uh, kind of give you some trouble about that rather than the person showing appreciation. Or maybe both. Anyway, I think that's what you're nervous about. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I think that's why you're disappointed here is because the appreciation wasn't handled in a fair way. Okay, gives me a moment. Sorry about the interruption, but we are back. Next, we are looking at Virgo. Had a little frog in my throat. Let's see what's going on with Virgo. Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. Okay, King of Wands showing up in reverse, Virgos. I think you're definitely disappointed about somebody who's in your sphere of influence. This is someone that you may have expected to have some kind of solution or guidance for you. This is somebody who really doesn't let culture or society tell them how they should live or how they should run their lives or their businesses or whatever they have. They think outside the box. They're very creative. And so normally they can come up with some good solutions for things. I feel like today you may have asked this person to help you figure out how to handle a certain situation, and they just really don't have any ideas. And I think you're disappointed here, Virgos. I think you kind of saw them as like your last hope for an idea here. Why are you doing that? Why are you putting that much pressure on another person? Go within. Go within for your idea. Tap in, meditate, ask Spirit to show you some guidance, ask the universe to lead you, whatever word you want to use, on the energy that's all around us and in us and works through us. Ask that energy to help you with the solution. Don't put that much pressure on another person. They don't need it. And it puts you in a position then where you're vulnerable to that other person and how well they're doing. Trust that creative energy that's all around us. It'll help you find the solution. Next up, let's look at Libra. Libra, Libra. Five of Swords. Easy to see enough here why you're disappointed. Some kind of argument or debate, something where you're not on the same page with somebody else. And I think that, you were really thinking that they would understand and they would be right there with you. They would be by your side in whatever this is you're doing. And instead, you have this argument or debate going on. I'm hearing that, you're looking at this as this slows the whole process down now. If I have to convince you and then I can move forward, it just slows the whole process down. And I was trying to be quick. So that's where I think your disappointment is coming in because I'm hearing all that as I talk about that card. I always joke around I can't walk and chew bubblegum, but you guys would be amazed how many conversations are going on. When you're talking to somebody who's clairaudient, they can be talking to you and they can be hearing from spirit at the same time and having to keep up with both. All right, let's see here. Boom, ba-da-do. Who's next? Scorpio. Scorpio. Three of Wands coming up in reverse. Scorpio, this just looks to me like we're trying to make some plans. We're trying to get organized. We're trying to put some things together. And we're disappointed because those plans aren't really coming together like we thought they should. And so we're having to go more day by day than what we would like to. Okay, let's look at Sagittarius. 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 Okay, Sagittarius, we have the Hanged Man showing up here. What do we have here? Sagittarius, you're definitely waiting for something. And with whatever this is that you're waiting for, I think you were hoping to have already had it. So that's where that disappointment is in this idea of remaining patient. There's also with the Hanged Man, there's this little idea too of because something hasn't come in right when you expected it to, you're kind of having to figure out how you're going to adjust things to make everything work. So say that you ordered a part for a machine and you need this machine for a big event that's coming up in a couple of days and the part hasn't shown up when you thought it would. Instead, you got this slip in the mail that said that the part's on back order or something like that, maybe in the email. Let's remember we're in the modern day. I'm showing my age. And now you're you're committed to this event where you need this machine. Now you've kind of got to figure out, okay, well, if I have to wait for this part that is designed to make this machine work, what am I going to do to have the benefit of having this machine without that part? Do I have to go rent another machine? Is there something that I can do to kind of, jury rig this machine to get it through this event without that part? So this is what this kind of feels like to me. Like there's some kind of disappointment because you're waiting on something, but there's also this sense of with that Hanged Man of looking at how can I get around any inconvenience or trouble that can be caused by me still having to wait on whatever this is that's coming in. So you're definitely thinking things over and looking at, uh, the ways that you can modify things in the meanwhile while you're waiting for whatever this is. All right, that's what I'm going to say for you, Sagittarius. Next up, we're looking at Capricorn. Capricorn, Capricorn, Capricorn. Temperance card showing up here for Capricorns. Boop, ba da doo doo. Doo doo. Temperance. Now, that's funny because I was just thinking about the Temperance card as I was looking at that Hanged Man for Sagittarius. So the Temperance card is the one that basically says I'm waiting. It doesn't say I'm having to modify things or improvise. In the meanwhile, it says I'm waiting. This is kind of patiently waiting. I'm in this nice balanced space where I may not have been wanting to wait. There is still that essence of disappointment in the overall energy, but at the same time, I'm not having to reconstruct or improvise. I am just waiting. And, disappointment or not, I still see you being patient about it. You know, it's not putting you into some kind of crunch here. You're just having to wait on something, and that's our disappointment that we see for you, Capricorns. All right, next up, looking at Aquarius, Aquarius. What do you guys have? Ooh, Eight of Swords in reverse. Now, the Eight of Swords in reverse is a card that I see as very empowering, but it looks like this empowerment that you're having today, Aquarius, is maybe a little bit bittersweet. With that Five of Cups, it comes up as whatever this is disappointing. That's our overall energy. But the Eight of Swords in reverse says, you know, I've been thinking about something for a while and I've had a hard time deciding, which side of the fence I'm going to come down on, sort of thinking in circles and just not being able to get to a landing point, where I can make a decision that I feel comfortable and solid with. Well, with this Eight of Swords in reverse, what it says is you're breaking free of that circular thinking or that thinking in circles. You're breaking free of that. Okay. Now, you're breaking free of that because you're recognizing that the only thing that was holding you in that circular thinking was your own perspective, limiting you and restricting you in the solutions that you could find for whatever this was that was a concern or a challenge. Okay. Once you realize that it was your own perspective and nothing else that was limiting you, then you saw, oh, this is the way that makes sense how to handle this. And you were able, well, or you will be today, able to just slip right out of that sticky situation. Okay. Now, with that Five of Cups, when we layer that in, this tells me that while it is empowering to be able to get out of that roundabout circular thinking, at the same time, the conclusion that you came to is disappointing to you. You may have had higher hopes for this situation than what you're actually realizing are attainable. And so realizing, this is where I have to cut my losses, that can be a disappointment. To recognize that we have to cut losses sometimes, but still empowering because if you stay in a situation where you're taking the loss and taking the loss and taking the loss, eventually you end up depleted. The empowering part is cutting the losses and getting away before you're depleted, ideally. Okay. So that's what I see for you, Aquarians, is recognizing that, I think right here you're recognizing that there's some kind of situation that you've really been debating on what you're going to do about it lately, and now you're realizing I have to cut out of this. I can't expect things to improve. There's no rational reason to expect things to improve. And so I may not like that. That may not be happiness making. It may not be what I wanted, but I have to do what makes sense. That's what I see for you guys, Aquarius, as your situation. Now, that could be entirely mundane. It doesn't have to be a big deal. That could be somebody going through the drive-through at Dairy Queen, say, or anywhere, and then realizing that, I would really love to have whatever is my favorite treat from this drive-through, but looking at the watch and realizing, man, the line is taking way too long. I have to be at this appointment, or I have to uh, pick up the kids or whatever, and recognizing that, nope, it's time to cut out of this line. So you could debate about that for a few minutes. That treat could be really tempting. You could debate about it for a few minutes and then finally realize, nope, even though I've invested my time in this line so far, it's not enough. I got to get out of here before there is no going back. So it could be as mundane as that. These cards don't have to be a big deal, especially the daily cards, because when we do cards every day, it's good to realize that there's not always life-shattering, uh, profound things that are happening that are gonna show up in big ways every single day. So sometimes these cards are gonna be super mundane, and sometimes they're gonna be really profound. It's gonna just depend what's going on in our lives. And I think it's also important to recognize that our everyday lives, profound things are happening all the time. We're building into them just one brick at a time. We're building into the profoundness of our lives every day, but it doesn't always feel like a big deal because, it's one step at a time. All right, let's see here. Ba-ba-da-da. Pisces. Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. Eight of Cups coming up in reverse. Pisces, you are going back to something that in the past has made you feel exhausted or depleted. Is your vacation over? With that Five of Cups in reverse, you're disappointed to go back to it. That's why I think, oh man, maybe vacation is over. Something is going on that you're going back to a situation that has been less than ideal in the past. Hopefully it'll work out better this time. I don't know. But with this overall energy, you're definitely disappointed that you're going back to it. All right. Okay, so that's what we have for today. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and sharing some of your precious time with me. I do appreciate it. And of course, remember, you guys are my sponsors here. So do me a favor, leave a thumbs up, share this video out to the world, and leave me some feedback. Any or all of the above, all of that stuff helps with the logarithm with YouTube. And I appreciate that, appreciate that, appreciate that. I love to see my subscribers growing, and that all helps with that as well. Also, of course, I'm doing readings and Reiki today. If you want to schedule an appointment with me, all you have to do is check out my information on my website. All of my contact information is there too. So if you need to ask me any questions or you're ready to call me for scheduling, then all of that is right there. So, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading for some of you guys and doing Reiki for some of you guys later on today. Everyone have a fantastic, wonderful, thrilling day. Peace out.